You are listening to the Atlanta Real Estate Forum radio show, Around Atlanta edition, showcasing the best of Metro Atlanta, our communities, the attractions, and the special events that make Atlanta great. Welcome to our virtual town square.
Good morning and welcome back to Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's Around Atlanta edition. I'm your host, Carol Morgan, and I'd like to give a special thanks and shout out to our 2022 show sponsor, New American Funding. We certainly could not do this without them, so thank you. Today's guest is utilizing shelter dogs to change the lives of incarcerated men. Talk about a win-win for everyone, dogs and humans. Welcome to Susan Jacobs-Meadows. She's Executive Director with Canine CellMates. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited about this conversation and glad to have you here. Let's just start. Give us a quick kind of overview about you and your background.
Oh, well, I have a pretty widely varied professional background. I've done a little bit of everything, from being in the military to managing health clubs to running the marketing department for a large steel case dealership to being a consultant to owning my own business and then starting and running Canine CellMates. So I've kind of been all over the map.
Wow, kind of you're like a jack of all trades and have expertise in expertise in lots of areas. Well, give us an overview of Canine CellMates and talk about the ultimate goal of the program.
Okay. Canine CellMates is a jail dogs program. And the way that works, what that means is we pull dogs out of open intake animal shelters, move them into Fulton County Jail where they live 24 hours a day with inmate handlers. It is a training program. So we run training classes there 5 days a week. And that's where the men learn the skills that they need in order to be able to train these dogs in basic obedience. We work throughout the cycle, as it's called, to get the dogs adopted, because that is the ultimate goal for the dogs, is that they graduate and are adopted. But the program centers around the dogs, but the focus is on the men. So these men also sit in other classes 5 to 7 days a week that have nothing to do with dogs. We center around topics like personal development, current events and critical thinking, public speaking, building creative muscle, resume writing and interviewing skills, things like that. And we also bring in speakers weekly to talk to the men about a wide variety of topics. And the goal is to present them with as many new ideas and concepts as we can so that they ultimately will leave and make different kinds of choices and not return to incarceration.
Wow, what a wonderful program and what a huge depth of services. You're really kind of approaching it from all angles to, as you said, give them this wealth of knowledge that they need to go out and make good decisions and, rejoin society.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah. Well, what counties do you currently serve?
Right now, we're only working with Fulton County. We would like to expand into some other counties for our in-custody program, but right now we're only working with Fulton. And actually, we aren't in Fulton at the moment because we're not back in from COVID.
Oh, wow.
We anticipate being back in the jail probably within the next 45 days or so.
Oh, that's exciting. Very good. Well, I know you've got another program, Beyond the Bars. Talk a little bit about that program.
Well, we took over a building last year. It was an enormous leap of faith for us. We needed more awareness in the market. We had done a pretty good job at creating awareness of who we are, but without any space of our own, we were kind of limited. So we took on a building, and when we took on a building, we always knew that we would expand our services. So we went back to the drawing board and we created a new program that actually launched here in this facility last September. And it is called Beyond the Bars. It is what we would refer to as an alternative disposition program, meaning that we are the disposition for open charges for these men. So those can be either men that have been indicted, men that have been charged, but not indicted yet. And in that case, we would be considered a diversion program. They can be men who have been indicted and then assigned to a public defender and a courtroom and a judge. And so in that case, we would be considered alternative sentencing. So they come here to our facility 4 half days a week. It's a very intensive program for the first 90 days. They work with rescue dogs in a group training environment, which is very similar to what we do inside the jail. They do some work around the building. They take care of the dogs and the structure, and they sit in very focused curriculum here, centering around topics like conflict resolution, effective communication, parenting skills, emotional competence. And when they complete this phase one, the first 90 days, we do hold a graduation, because it's important to recognize that this was a pretty significant thing they just finished. The dogs are adoptable at that point. And then they phase up and their participation steps down gradually over the remaining 9 months. When they complete the program at the end of a year, their charges go away.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Well, your training philosophy is to guide individuals to become good canine and human citizens, and and to reduce people going back to jail. And it sounds like you've got a very sound program to do this. What have your results been? How many people have you worked with, and what's your success rate?
Over 400 men have participated in our program inside Fulton County Jail.
Okay.
And we pulled 156 dogs, I think, since 2013 that have gone through our program and gotten adopted into forever homes. We don't track recidivism rates, because, well, for a variety of reasons. We do have a post-release component to our program, so we do assist men up, after release. I'm actually not aware of any other program like ours that does that, but it's not mandatory that they participate in this post-release component. And I do hear from a lot of men. We provide resources to a lot of men, but the only way to know if they were rearrested would be to go run background checks on all of them. And that's just very invasive and not something I'm interested in doing. Anecdotally, we can talk about a lot of successes that these men have had, but as far as a percentage of men through our program, that's just not something that we track.
Well, I'm sure it's a very high percent that's successful. The dogs that you help, do they have to meet certain criteria before you pull them from the shelters? And 156 is a large number. So
it is. Well, it's a lot of cycles. We graduated 26 cycles of classes through Fulton County Jail, so that's a lot of cycles. But yes, we do extensive temperament assessments before we place dogs in our program, because it takes an extremely resilient dog to be able to live and thrive inside that jail environment for 10 weeks. Probably 10% or less of dogs are resilient enough to be able to handle that kind of stress.
Yeah, as I say, I do a lot of work with the German Shepherd Rescue Group, and I don't know how many of those shepherds would do well in that environment. Shepherds.
We've had, let's see, cycle 24, something like that. We had a very young shepherd. He was a very big boy, but he was young. He was only, I want to say, 6 or 7 months old. And he made it through the program. He was rather soft. He was sensitive and didn't have a ton of confidence.
Right.
But he made it through the program and was extremely well socialized and adopted into a home. And then we had a Dutch Shepherd, and she actually did fantastic. She was amazing.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just such warriors,
They
don't do well.
I think that would definitely describe Hawkeye. He was a warrior.
They're warriors. Yes. I have, you can't see them, but I have 2 in the office here with me right now. And they're both sound asleep. And one of them is the I love everyone dog. He would do fantastic wherever you put him. And the other one worries about everything.
Yes.
So yeah, I can imagine that it's really important to pick the right dogs, and maybe even to match the right dog to the right person.
Yep, absolutely. The right handler and the right dog combination can work miracles together. No question.
Yeah. Well, so for people who are listening who think, wow, that's something I would love to help with, do you have positions open for volunteers?
Oh my gosh, yes, we do. We have volunteer roles all over the place, because we'll be back in our in-custody program soon. We have the program here at the building. Now we have a building and we have dogs in the building. And so we have volunteer opportunities for those who want to come get their hands dirty or their feet dirty or whatever, and work with the dogs and walk them and play with them. We have puppies in the building to play with. We need people to help with our training team. We need people to come make lunches for the guys, because we feed them every day. marketing, PR, fundraising, grant writing. We have a lot of opportunities.
Wow, lots going on there. I guess just curiosity, is this program, does it mimic or copy a program that's somewhere else in the United States, or is there like a whole series of
This
nonprofits
Beyond the
similar to
Bars
this?
program?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anybody else in the country doing this. We've
Wow.
done some research. There certainly are diversion programs out there. There's no question about that. But I'm not aware of any diversion or sentencing alternative program in the country that is utilizing at its very core working with rescue dogs.
Right.
Dogs are the magic of our program. We could do all of the things that we do without dogs, but I don't think the effect would be the same.
I don't think it would be either. You look at why dogs and horses are used as therapy animals, and it's really kind of reshaping that mind and that perception, and then somebody's ability to think of not just themselves but this other being, and
Yeah.
and then forming that relationship with that other person, being a dog in this case, and understanding that they have their own personality and their own wants and needs and little quirks and stuff too. And I think it creates a really special bond and creates a great learning experience.
For our in custody program, I think we saw this even more dramatically than we see in our out of custody program, although it certainly applies. Our target audience, if you will, is that repeat felony offender. We're not a first offender program. We're not a youthful offender program. There are programs available for those people who fit in those categories, but there are very few programs available for that repeat felony offender because society has pretty much given up on people by the time they're on their third to fifth felony, which is where most of these men are.
Wow.
So most of them have very high, thick walls around them for self-protection. From trauma that they experienced when they were young, from the trauma of being incarcerated multiple times. We could take all of the programming that we do when we have these men in our program, and it would be like a glass of water. And if you pour that glass of water over the top of those tall, thick walls, most of it would run off. A little bit might sink in, but most of it would run off. So then there's the dogs. The dogs have the unique ability to be able to create cracks in those walls. And once you have cracks in the walls, then that programming can start to sink in and be absorbed at a higher rate. So that's, dogs, they truly are the magic.
Yeah, dogs are definitely magic. I love dogs. Well, so how long has Canine CellMates been around?
Well, it was 10 years ago last month that I first sat across the table with Fulton County Jail command staff. And it took 18 months of lots and lots of work to get this program off the ground. The program started on June 3rd of 2013.
2013. And how on earth did you get the idea to start this? Or, what inspired you?
No, I think it just happened. I started hearing about programs like this, and I've loved dogs since I could crawl, literally. My mother got a boxer to help look after her 3 tiny little children when I was very, very young. And so I learned to walk with my boxer at my side and have always, always loved dogs. So it was interesting to me when I started hearing about programs primarily inside of prisons that involved incarcerated persons and dogs. And so it was just, I don't know, I just found it to be interesting. And when someone who I knew at Fulton County Jail asked me if I, as a small business owner, would be willing to help find other small business owners that would be open to hiring men that he was trying to put through a work release program, I said, sure. And then I asked him for a favor in return and said that I was thinking of starting a jail dogs program in Fulton County Jail, and would he help me get in the door? And frankly, it was pretty shocking to me because I really had not even had that conscious thought at that moment. But I think that it had been sitting up there percolating for a minute, and then I opened my mouth and it came out. So
wow. Wow. Yeah, it's just interesting. You hear your whole background and everything you've done and how you got from there to where you are now. And clearly you've created a very successful program. So thank you for that.
The interesting thing is that while I have this crazy, varied background, there are takeaways from every single thing I've done that has helped me do this.
Right.
So,
Well,
kind of
and probably your crazy diverse background is why you do this well, because you had lots of different resources to pull from, just
I
like you're
just think I
giving
have
the,
ADD.
well, maybe that too, but it's the same concept of what you're presenting the men with. You're trying to give them lots of different resources
Yeah.
that they can pull from back in the real world. And that's what you've done for yourself. Well, do you all have any upcoming events?
We don't. We were going to have a big fundraiser here at our facility that COVID kind of quashed. So now we're going to pick another date and try again.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, we'll have to keep us posted on that.
I
So
will.
obviously fundraising is important. So, what opportunities are there for sponsorships or corporate donations or memberships or what's out there, and how can our
There's
listeners?
lots of opportunities. We are actively looking for corporate sponsorships because there are some things that we have an ongoing need for. That would be hugely helpful if companies would sponsor us. For example, if a pet food company or distributor would sponsor us for food, because now that we have a facility and 17 dogs in the building, a 40-pound bag of dog food lasts us 2.5 days. So, we feed a very good food and we want to continue to feed a very good food, but a sponsor for that would be fantastic. We're a training environment, so we use a ton of training treats. So a sponsor that could provide us with that. We feed these men every day. We feel like that's important. They're here from 9 to 1. I want to make sure that they have at least one healthy meal per day. And some of them go straight to work and might not have time to stop for lunch. So while we fix lunches now and bag them up, it sure would be great if we could have some sponsors of an entity that says, sure, we'll deliver 12 lunches to you on Mondays, and somebody else who says, and we'll deliver 12 lunches to you on Tuesdays. So those are just some of the things that we could use some sponsorship help with. But as far as individuals donating, we have an Amazon and a Chewy wish list, and the things that we really need are on there. So those are great opportunities too.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, anything else? You've given us a lot of information. Anything else you want to add or you want our listeners to know?
Well, just that we could use a lot of support. This was, I said, a huge step for us. It was not a baby step, and it was a huge leap of faith when we went in this direction. We feel like it's extremely important work. We get to participate in the shifting of some lives in a positive way. At the same time, we get to rescue dogs. We've had more than a few people tell us that, it's a good thing we have the dogs because otherwise our mission is not very sexy. But even if you don't believe in the human capacity for positive change, and support that, just because you should support us anyway, because the reality is that 90% of people incarcerated are going to get out at some point.
Yeah.
And don't we want them to return to their communities and potentially our communities as human beings who have a different outlook on life and understand that there are different choices that they can make?
Right. I absolutely agree with you on that. So thank you for the work you do. For our listeners who want more information on you and Canine CellMates, where can they get that?
Our website, caninecellmates.org. We are also active on social media. So we have a very active Facebook page and we're on Instagram. And they tell me we should be on TikTok, but we're not there yet.
TikTok's fun, but it's a lot of work. So you should get some of the guys to help do TikToks. That would be fun.
Yes, I think
at least
so.
Create the video. Well, that wraps this week's Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's Around Atlanta edition. I'd like to thank Susan Jacobs-Meadows, the director of Canine CellMates and Beyond the Bars, for joining me in studio today. And on behalf of our show sponsor, New American Funding, I'm your host, Carol Morgan. If you enjoyed today's show, please follow Atlanta Real Estate Forum on Facebook. If you want more news on, new homes, home builders, or fun things to do around Atlanta, then sign up for our newsletter at atlantarealestateforum.com. And of course, you can continue the conversation and listen to more podcasts by downloading for free iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify on your smartphone. And if you're interested in participating in Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio, contact me, carol@denimmarketing.com. Thank you for listening. And with that, I look forward to seeing you again for our next episode. Thank you.
Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio is made possible by Denim Marketing, the publisher of Atlanta Real Estate Forum, Atlanta's favorite source for real estate and home building news. Denim Marketing is a comfortable fit, like your favorite pair of jeans. Denim Marketing tailors marketing strategies to meet your specific needs and niche. Try them on for size. They will work to create a perfect fit for your company's marketing program. Call them at 770-383-3360 or send an email to info@denimmarketing.com. For more information on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio or to inquire about being a guest, contact info@atlantarealestateforum.com. Check out the radio show by visiting atlantarealestateforum.com or by listening to the show on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed today's broadcast, we'd sure appreciate a rating and review on iTunes. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio.